Hello everyone, my name is Tanya Lukina. I am Vedic Astrologer and today we're going to talk about natal chart of Russia and forecasts, what the stars promises for that country. It's very interesting because all that situation around the war with Ukraine, around Mr. Putin, everyone wants to know what's the next to create some plans. I prepared that video around 3 months, check on a lots of different cards because you have not just one natal chart, there's a lots of other chart what you can just study, you can watch and then think over them. I have lots of clients who live in post-Soviet countries and I saw in their own personal natal charts big changes. Let's use the word changes in the periods what we're gonna talk today about. So yeah, all the countries also have a natal charts. You can use the same techniques like we are using for people. So we have transits, we have periods. We're gonna talk about all of them. And that's really important to know what's the next in front because I have a lots of stories of people which have worked as astrologer for many years, and if you know what's going next, you can make plans, you can avoid something really bad, what what could happen, or of few ways what you can choose. You can choose the softer way, how to resolve all the problems even before they start. The same techniques we can use for any country. Now for Russia, if there is any country you wanted to hear here on YouTube channel, just write. I will try my best to create some forecast for a country which you are most interested. Russia's modern chart begins on June the 12th at 1:45 p.m. in Moscow. And before we start to talk about future, let's start to talk about the natal chart its own. It's because it's same like when a person coming to you, usually with some exact question, and you look an answer for that exact question. And then when you are creating answer for that person, you have to start sometime from the behind and explain some basic stuff of his own natal chart, what it's bringing, and so what you can expect. Because there is some basic characteristic you can hardly change in your own natal chart, and it's possibly like impossible to change in chart of such a huge monumental synergy of everything what's going on in the country. Because yes, if you are just one person, you can do a lot with your own life, but it's soon like impossible to do something with like whole earth, whole country. You can tell it's really like a fate, like a destiny. The rising sun of Russia, very beginning of Virgin, would have the same nakshatra of the end of the Leo. Nakshatras are a wonderful system in Vedic astrology, which you can understand much better the things, because, like for example, beginning of Virgin is soon like same like the end of the Leo. That last nakshatra is called in Uttara Phalguni, and that represents like good kind king. Because it's already Virgin, that's a king who like to count everything. That's kind of bureaucratic king. He have a lot of paper, he's counting, he likes to manage the stuff, he likes to work in sales, He liked to be very strict, very direct, but it's still quite kind. It's like a combination of dignity and discipline. Mercury rules the Virgo ascendant and it's placed in the ninth house of Russia together with the Sun. That's just wonderful. That's really extremely auspicious placement. But what it's all about? It sits in Nakshatra Kritika, and we all know the word criticism, to critic someone, that really a little bit in negative depression mood. If you sometimes saw the jokes about the Russians that they never smile, they are very serious, they take everything very strict. They wanted to be, they wanted to follow rules, some of them, so very directive, but still in the ninth house. And ninth house represent a higher education, philosophy, teachers, wisdom traditions, classic religions, so nothing like new age. So if the Russia is character, it's naturally included to take the role of the mentor or the guide. That's a nation of teachers, of preachers, which should bring something deep and philosophical to the world. It's one of the strongest signatures in the chart, especially that Jupiter, which shows guru, teachers, the best karma in everyone natal chart, is placed in the 10th house, and 10th house is our profession, where we can solve our highest professional spot. And Jupiter in the 10th house, that's a typical position for professional, also teachers, preachers. Best what Russia should bring to the world, that's a culture with a deep meaning. And indeed, when people think of Russia, some of their first association are spiritual symbolism, that golden domes, orthodox monks' charts, profound literature like Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, classical music, and that's and even ballet. Even Russian ballet is not just about dancing. Each movement have his own meaning. If there's a person with such a natal chart, I just tell him like go study, reach high education, and then become a teacher. That's the best you can do. So that's really looks like a great natal chart. So why we see all the problems, but what we see now, Russia is not right now famous because of the culture. It's famous because the war. And we have answer in the planetary periods from 2006 till February 2024. There was a long period of Rahu Mahadasha. Rahu is our personal criminal guy. Every one of us have his own criminal inside of him who wanted to do some nasty stuff. Especially last 2 years of each one's Rahu Mahadasha are the worst. So we all remember what Russia did since February 22 till February 24. And that's, of course, also the point where astrologer could really help, because if it's a person and he come before that bad period, we can talk a lot about how to make it softer, how not to choose the best possible way how to live your own life. But nobody asked me. Please ask me your question. I'm gonna answer the best way I can. Rahu represents the intense desires. is a kind of obsession, soul driving impulses, and they often shape our destiny without our own willing. They just pushing us somewhere we have to go, and we maybe don't even want to go, but that's destiny. In a Russian natal chart, Rahu is in Capricorn in the fifth house, together with the Moon and Saturn. So, what is the fifth house about? And what's the meaning that the Moon and Saturn is right close to? So, what I can tell of my practice learning astrology, Rahu in the fifth house in Capricorn. What I saw personally, it's two options: or the person is going to the speculative high risk behavior like trading, cryptos, obsessed with some kind of online casinos, even live casinos, about gambling, video gaming, addiction. Person is like a child. All the life is just a game. It's not taking life seriously. Or there's other point. People could have like 5, 6 kids. Even if they don't have money, it's like the type we live in shark, but we will have a 5 kids archetype. You all know such a kind of families, like they couldn't really take care nicely about their own kids because it's in Capricorn, and Capricorn is not like wealthy. Think of Saturn, so all they go slowly, all they go cold, all they go boring. That's not a Taurus or Cancer where kids could live happily. So that's really like we have 5 skinny, hungry kids. But we are planning about to have the sixth and the seventh one. So now translated to the country. So we are playing with the costs of barrels, oil barrels on the trade markets, and we're thinking about our kids and what's the kids in point of the country. Of course, that could be if it's based in Moscow, even some far, far, far east, like Kamchatka, could be the kid, but we always want more. So Kamchatka was what is already our is not no more such wanting like something new, some new piece of someone's land, which we could accept as our new child. Why not? Russia is never big enough. Rahu is also close to the moon. Moon is our inner mother. Every one of us have that archetype, what mostly given us our mother. What we get from her from our prenatal period and a few first years when we were really small. Like even psychology is telling the same, that bigger part of our psychic is formed even before we get born, first few years. How our mom is treating us, that's our mental status for all our life. So what about the mental status of Russia? It's in Capricorn with Rahu, with Saturn. So mother is very strict, mother is very disciplined, controlling, even annoying. Like you know that such type of parents, such type of mothers who gives zero personal life for their own kids. They have to control all, and because it's in Capricorn with Rahu and Saturn, that mother is also suffering. Oh, she have to work hard, she have no proper food, she's struggling, literally struggling. And maybe you can see that even in Russian culture, that like adult women, they are not like beautiful ladies, they are babushkas in their early 40s. If you just image like you have that beautiful young ladies in Instagram, Slavic girl archetype or babushka, there's nothing like between that. It's always young and beautiful or old and suffering. And where is that young and beautiful? That's Venus of Russia in the 8th house. But what's good in Aries? And Aries, Venus is in Aries, that represents that young, beautiful, flaming, burning lady. But it's in the 8th house, so they're suffering too. It's like beautiful geisha. We choose that path of sexual, psychic tantra who have some lots of mental problems because also hard life. That's not a Venus in the first house when Venus take care about itself. It's not a Venus in the fourth house when Venus could bring some inner happiness. It's the end house, so it's still about solving the problems. So uh, mature ladies suffer and young ladies solving the problems. Pity. So we spoke a little bit about uh, basic Russians natal chart characteristic. So we have that man archetype of preacher, teacher, and women basic archetype of a struggling woman. And let's move forward to predictions. So we start to spoke about planetary periods, and this long Rahu period finished in the February 24, and I remember pretty well how many astrologers just pray on that February 24 that are gonna start huge Jupiter Mahadasha. And Jupiter Mahadasha, that's the best time in the person's life mostly. That's just an excellent news when that period starts, and lots of astrologers hoped that the war gonna stop in February 24 because there could be no war in a such good period. But Jupiter Mahadasha lasts 16 years, and especially auspicious are the two very first one because there's big Jupiter Mahadasha and Jupiter Dasha. So there is double Jupiter. Jupiter of Russia is posted in the 10th house, as we told before, so wants to be a preacher, teacher, but he also rules the 7th house. 7th house is house of our partners. So he wants to be a teacher for partners. But in the 7th house is placed Mars. Mars in Pisces. Pisces are soft, kind, but Mars in the 7th house, that's a classic signature of conflict, arguments, breakups, toxic partnerships. So if it's a person like first marriage, that's gonna be just disaster. Maybe the second, if person gonna learn something that he shouldn't be such aggressive, such mean, such like dominant, could be better. But first marriage soon like zero chances to be happy, because yeah, Mars in the 7th house, that's classical toxic abuser. Yeah, you can tell that since February 24 it's get better. It's get better for all the post-Soviet region, but because Mars is placed on the Jupiter sink of pieces. The bad prediction is that actually in the Jupiter time that problems with the partners wouldn't stop. You can tell for the 16 years there will be still some fights with the partners, bigger or smaller, but it won't be never peace in that time. If it's a person, I'm gonna have few advices how to change it, but nobody is asking me. It's just a video for you, the people, to make your plans better. If you have something common with the post-Soviet countries, and that's a lot of people. And as we know, in many post-Soviet countries, there's prohibited to speak something about politics, something about such kind of prediction, about politics stuff, about the war, how it's going on. So let's do it how we can here. Please support. Even if you don't like what I'm telling, just support at least the fact that I'm speaking about it. We need a word of freedom. Lots of my clients, people which I talk time to time, they really feel much better since that February 24, and they hoping that it's gonna get better and better and better, and we could just forget about year 2022, 2023, and it's all gonna get better. But here I have to tell no, keep yourself careful, be ready, be careful, because it's going to get even worse and worse when that good period of Jupiter and Jupiter ends. It's not just about periods, it's about the transitions too, because it's gonna start Saturn's period. Saturn's dasha will run from spring 2026 till late autumn 2028. Remember what we speak about before? Where is Saturn's placed in Russia's natal chart? In the 5th house. So again, the biggest interests are the kids, the colonies, the new countries, which we wanted to control. Saturn in Capricorn, it's in his own sign. It's extremely strong and very strict. Doesn't want to give creativity free place to his own kids. He wants just to control, he wanted to rule. And Saturn also rules the 6th house. 6th house is house or our enemies, debts, illnesses, losing a court. So our kids, our colonies, improving our enemies and our debts. That's really bad relationship between parent and the kids. Nobody is happy in such a kind of horrible relationships. I'm sorry, but too much control is bad for people and for countries. But still, you can tell, okay, that's just a period. We have to go through it. Maybe that's not so bad as I'm speaking about it. But we also have a transit, and in that time, when there will be a period of Saturn transitory going to the 8th house over crisis, over problems, and it's upcovering natal Venus. Natal Venus of everyone is okay, is still in the 8th house, but yeah, it could bring some happiness, some joy, as much as it possible in the eighth house, but yes, it's bringing some. And now Saturn is going truth. So Saturn is covering all that little happiness which could Russia receive. And it's bringing even more problems to the ladies. Women in that territory gonna suffer like incredibly. And men's, they like men's could reach no joy if it's your lady suffering. You can even think why. What gonna happen that lady is gonna feel themselves so bad, like in a prison. Oh my lord! I always try to like empathy when I am reading the natal charts. I try to feel like the person feel in such transits with such a card. Now I just like, oh, that's really not nice. I don't want to even like, oh, God bless those ladies. Of course, we can talk more about every month, every year, every period, but I can tell upfront that the worst time for Russia gonna be in the. um, I'm really not happy to speak about it, but I think it's really important to save the lives. It's not about how wealthy we're gonna be, how healthy we're gonna be, if we're gonna have a good business or a bad business. It's really about saving lives. And the worst time gonna be in the summer 2027. So get ready, get prepared, and uh, avoid those places, especially in the summer 2027, because Saturn enters Gandanta. That's a really bad place for Saturn. It's the very end of Pisces and beginning of Aries. Aries, that's the worst position for Saturn. Saturn hates Aries. Saturn likes to be stable, Saturn likes to discipline. As Aries, they like to fight. That's like a hyperactive 5 years old boy. He wanna stick, he wanted to fight, and Saturn don't feel himself at all good. And Gandanta, that's you going from the cold water of Pisces to burning fire of Aries. And it's just like Russian. Like if you throw something hot into the water, it's just getting to boil, getting to dust. Oh my word. Nothing nice. Especially when it's a period Saturn. And so if it's a period of Saturn, that's your main boss, your director. And your director feeling yourself like a piece of shit. So all the business gonna be real bad in such a situation. Oh, and what's the even worst? That's the point, because I have just a few videos, as you see now on my YouTube channel, and I choose to speak about Russia because Russia gets that Saturn in Gandanta into a chart of the year since summer 2027 till summer 2028, because everyone gonna go through that Gandanta, because everyone have pieces in Aries in his own natal chart, but not everyone gonna get Saturn and Gandanta into the natal chart of the year. So it's just like your birthday chart for every year. You can see the more specific what's going next, what you should do in that year, what you shouldn't, and receive Saturn in Gandanta in a year that's like that's just a cosmic course. Like all these demigods, all who you believe, like in Jesus and Buddha, whoever you believe, you just telling you're a bad guy, you need your punishment, and I'm gonna punish you into your ass. Hmm? Oh my lord, pray, pray, pray for the people of Russia. Um, I just wanted to stop it. Like that's really not what I wanted to talk about it. But yeah, if somebody just believe that now they're gonna solve their problems between Russia and Ukraine, and we're gonna go back to our beautiful 2019 before the war, before COVID, nope. It's just a little rest before something much worse. I don't want it to finish. I planned that video and I just don't want it to finish in such a bad spot. So I looked forward something good, something nice, something which could fill us with some hope. And the hope I found in the chart of the year since summer 2028 till summer 2029, when it's some magic going on, because like I don't know, divine spirit can can let us die. Like there is always some hope, there is always some good end in the very end, and we saw four auspicious planets in the first house in Taurus, Jupiter in Lion, in the fourth house. I thought how it's possible after such a bad periods, after such a bad transits, I received such a good chart, and I think it's because people gonna choose to go back to their own country land, and maybe government gonna give these people to these people some land for free, like in the early 90s when some post-Soviet countries were really poor, they just give to people like countryside lands for free that they could raise at least some potatoes to eat them. I think they're gonna repeat, and the government fulfill wishes of the simple people who just wanted to live their simple lives on countrysides. So that's not a card of a high-tech country, of fighting country. That's just really chart of the people who wanted to be on their own piece of property, raised up their own potatoes, take care just about their own families, feeding their own families, and nothing more. So if you can leave some dangerous post-Soviet places, find some piece of land far, far, far away, build your own little wooden cabin, and try to stay happy and stay free, stay healthy. I wish all of you all the best. If you know someone who is connected to post-Soviet places and you think that prediction gonna be useful for them, send If you wanna talk about your personal natal charts, I am all yours, in your service. Astrology, that's really my love, that's my religion, that's my life. I'm gonna give you all the best I can. And till the next time we see each other, I wish you all the best, my dear friend, and good luck.